Hello everybody, my name is Infiniti and welcome to day number 2 of Vlogust. If you don't know, I am the face and the voice behind all the content behind Infiniti Crafting Co. So anytime you see my content across this wonderful World Wide Web, it's me. My bucket of knitting needles. Alright, so today I'm probably going to be crocheting just a little bit while I talk. Today's subject is, why do I sell the things that I make online as opposed to like in person? So a little background, I have been crocheting for 7 years, and so I got the opportunity to be a young hopeful in the world of you know, marketing your creativity. That sounded really positive. But yes, I was a young hopeful, and you know what? I did eventually, I had one consistent person that would always buy my things in the beginning, when I would just, like, before I moved on to Etsy, etc., etc. Now, I think in 2018, probably around when I started my channel, around the holidays, with the cable spoke rug. Oh my god, I still need to update that pattern. Anyway, I opened my Etsy shop, and I had a couple items there, but I wasn't really that avid about it. I was still hopeful. I'm like, you know what, people around me are going to support me. I have friends that are like behind me and all, again, hopefulness. So I just kind of let it sit there, and I was just like, I'm just going to do my thing in person and just not be bothered with all the shipping and all that technical stuff. I was kind of iffy about how to go about shipping, and I didn't have a PO box at that time, so yeah, in person was just a lot less complicated to me, or so I thought. Now, I'm not gonna make this video in a way that discourages people from selling their handmade items in person or to people. If you have a clientele, a reliable, consistent, faithful clientele, go for it. Hey, I have nothing against that. And there's all kinds of methods, but I think my number one thing that deterred me from doing that is the fact that you have certain people who they like to see what you're doing, but they don't want to actually come to terms with the cost and the effort and the labor of what you do. So when they come to purchase things or want to purchase things, and you hit them with that invoice, they're like, ooh, or oh, or you know what, I changed my mind. You know what? I have a lot of patience. I do. And I just kept getting burned, and eventually I learned my lesson. It only took me a couple times. Yeah, it only took me a couple times. And I think the last time that I actually tried to sell outside of my client base, yeah, the one lady was like, ew, when it came to the price. And then, when I finished the project and everything, what she asked for, the measurements and everything, she's like, oh, this is still too big, and can you redo it? No rush, that kind of thing. And then the other lady, I got done with like 5 or 6 items for her, and I think it was like $100, because it was this whole puff stitch tam type thing with the bib going on. I had some custom made headbands that I designed personally, and she wanted them in black, which I always said, black is kind of one of those colors that you don't like to crochet with often, because it's hard to see, and all my makers out in the audience, y'all know what I'm talking about. So, and yes, if you ask, I do still have legit almost everything from that order, and it was almost a year ago, a little over a year ago. So yeah, you can imagine my I was not pleased. I was not pleased, because I got done with her entire order. She had the invoice for weeks actually before I completed the order, and once I got done and she tried things on, she was happy about it or whatever, she turned around and she's like, you know what, I can't afford this. How do you price your things? It's just so expensive. And I was like, what? What? I'm like, well, and I gave her a very, plain and simple answer. I didn't break it down because at the end of the day, if you're going to sell your things, I mean, you can kind of, like, if you're giving people advice on how to price their own things, that's one thing. But if you have people who are just like sitting up and questioning your worth essentially as an artist, then no, I don't owe you an explanation. But anyway, I told her based on market prices and things like on, you know, web market, and considering my labor and time and the materials, that's how I come up with my prices, you know. And she was like, oh, I have a friend that does it for free. And you're as nice as possible when you're conducting business with people. I am definitely one of those super soft-spoken, happy-go-lucky, calm people on the outside when I'm dealing with business stuff. But in that instant, so I was just like, well, heck, go, have your friend to make you all this stuff. Take their time and energy and do all this stuff. And I guarantee you it won't be made quite like mine, because the lady had brought, she would always wear this hat that her friend had made. And I'm not one to rag on people's crafts or anything, but like, I don't know, maybe it was a beginner hat or something, or maybe it was a frog hat or something that her friend had given her, but it wasn't like together, and I don't know if it was from wear and tear or whatever. But I'm like, okay, well, have your friend to make it, because I'm not doing this. And so that was truly the straw that broke the camel's back. And like, even in times here recent, especially since I've been promoting my online store, my Etsy shop, things like that, I've gotten DMs, whatever you want to call it. I've gotten messages from friends that are just, or, acquaintances that are like, oh, what would you charge for this? Or, oh, you should do this custom. And I'm like, this is going to lead into why I don't do custom work. That's another story, but it has to do with it. I was just like, no, I don't do custom work anymore. I'm sorry. Turned it down. And, there's really a lot. Like, if you're going to go into crochet or knitting for the financial part of it, there's money to be made there. And it's like, it's not a bad thing to sell your crafts at all, but you do have to know your audience, and you have to conduct yourselves, because people, they can't go to Walmart or Kmart and, be like, oh, I don't want this. Or, oh, can you lower this price? I can't quite afford it. I overpaid or overspent at the beauty salon or something. You can't do that. Walmart would laugh at you, And it's unfortunate that people feel like they can do that to makers. Now, I will admit, part of that was my fault, because, again, that young, hopeful greenness had me, like, not getting my money up front. So that would be my number one piece of advice to people who might want to start making things for sale. Get your money up front, or just forego the annoyance and start selling online. I personally would recommend you actually getting a website as opposed to going on a marketplace per se, which I might delve into that in a future video this month. But that's something to consider. There's always those people that want to gyp you, and like I said, selling in person isn't a bad thing at all. You just have to know who your audience is. And some people find out the easy way, some people like me find out the hard way. I'm like, oh, okay. And it can kind of get you down, because it's like, okay, dang, I can't get supported, but you can go and buy designer XYZ and whatever. So my thing is, don't apologize for your pricing. Like, if you feel like you put your time and energy in that, and however you base your price, if you feel is justified, don't let hagglers make you feel bad for how you set your prices. I had an acquaintance to ask me about, like, the long scarves that I have in my Etsy store, and I'm like, okay, the one that they're asking about was like $38.99, and I'm like, and I'm like, I don't want to say that. I'm not saying it in a bad way, but they were kind of like, oh, I see. Now, mind you, again, people who are not crafters, they don't understand the value of things. But at the same time, these are the same people that would go pay another acquaintance's small business for like $90 worth of shoes or something. Like, come on. So again, people pay for what they want. And it was just kind of a thing like, oh, I see, you know, like that look. Makers know what I'm talking about. That look when you give your price to somebody that's like, oh, they think they're going to get the thing for like $10. And I was like, no, my yarn was $7. And then I spent a solid hour cranking out over 400 rows for that scarf. I want the price that I put up. And then also people don't take into account, you know, if you have to ship it to them. If you do not ship through like Etsy or eBay or wherever, whatever business platform, or have business mailing prices, commercial mailing prices, yeah, your shipping is expensive. It can be expensive because like I've mailed off lightweight packages and they've cost me like $8.10. So I mean, like, I have to calculate that into my products, and you know, it's just a lot of that that, you know, it's just steered me away from dealing with people directly. And then two, you have a broader view. You have more people seeing your stuff, I guess, you know, because like it's one thing where you have local people to like check your stuff out, they see what you're doing, all that, but then it's a whole nother stage when you have people out of state and out of town that are also seeing your creativity and adore what you do, and they're coming back and buying the things that you make and actually value the things that you make. So there's that thing, I guess, you know. It's just much easier, in my opinion, selling through the internet, either through a website or through a marketplace if you have to. I have so many horror stories, oh my gosh. But like I said, if you're going to do an in-person type thing, or maybe you even have people DMing you, just make sure you get a deposit of some sort up front that'll at least cover your materials and like half of your time, because people in general do not value the time and effort and care that goes into making crafts. Like, I have a whole wall of inventory over here that equates to hours and hours of my work, and I feel like I should be able to truly enjoy the fruits of my labors. Like, that's the main goal there. Because I mean, you know, kindness and happiness also, it doesn't pay the bills, it doesn't pay for your tuition, it doesn't pay for your textbooks, it doesn't do any of that. So you have to price your things in a certain way. And again, if you, in my opinion, if you have like a website or you're on a marketplace type platform, you have that sort of security in a way, because you know, you can, depending on the platform, you can decide what type of refunds you give, like the percentage amount. You can choose not to provide them at all. I personally don't do refunds. I've been burned too much. But that's, again, another story. And so, you know, you have that brick wall, and either if the person wants the item, they're going to buy it, you can ship it, and you get your money, depending on how you have it set up. You get it either right away or a certain time each month, and you're done. You're done, you know. And that's one of the fun parts, I think, about being a small maker, a small business, because you get to do all that quality control stuff. So you make sure that there should be no reason for them to send it back, period. So, you know, it's just more, I guess, the moral of the story is that I sell online because I have more of a security net there, you know. It's just, you know, it's really bad. It's a shame that people do that to people, and then, you know, some people, they can be more adamant about it. They're like, okay, you know what, forget this, scrap this, I'm gonna try a different way. Or you have people who just get totally burnt out. I know people who have gotten totally burnt out from people just like shorting them, not doing right or following through. It's just, you know, people are too flaky in my opinion to be doing that. Or, you know, maybe if you wanted to set up craft fairs, if you keep up with your town or cities or states craft fairs or whatever, and you want to do them like this, then you can do that as well. But overall, I just feel like it's a better route being an online seller as opposed to being like having clientele these days. Now, I still keep contact with um the client that I had regularly because she was just awesome. She was just awesome. And you want to make sure that if you make connections, you keep them. Not just specific, like especially if you made a friendship out of it. I had a friendship with the lady, so like, I also volunteered with her, so it was kind of a cool thing, and that was over the span of almost 4 years. So of course, I'm gonna keep in touch, or keep contact and keep that link there. But you want to just make sure that you're being personable. Again, if you're trying to be a small business, you want to be as personable as possible without hurting yourself. You have to have those boundaries in there, of course, but you want to be able to be that name or that brand. It's like, hey, so and so is a really great company. You should try them out. And like, I don't care what anybody says, things spread faster by word of mouth. So, if somebody's just talking about you and like, oh yeah, 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 I've had people to come through and be like, hey, I'm from XYZ channel, or I'm from XYZ person. They recommended you that, and I've had that and it's been great. That is a great thing. So, yeah, there's just a lot of pros, in my opinion, to being an online seller. Now, the cons come in with all the extra fees and all that, but like I said, that's going to be a different video. I didn't want to turn this into a whole horror story rant thing, but if you're a creator out there and you've been sitting back and you're like, these hands are profitable, like some of us were, and you're wanting to get into that realm, these are some things to consider. Or maybe, let me know down in the comments below if you've been through similar situations. Hey, hey. And I think maybe too, for a later video, I should put it in my phone. For a later video, I should actually talk about pricing your projects, because some people don't really have an idea about how to price their projects, or products rather. I don't know. Projects, products, they're the same thing, right? Some people don't really have a clue about that. So I think, I can kind of talk about just my personal experiences with that, and some things that I recently developed as far as pricing my items and all that fun stuff. I hope that you guys enjoyed today's Vlogust rant conversation. If so, don't forget to leave this video a thumbs up if you're on YouTube, or a heart if you're on Instagram. Don't forget to go check out my other social media. If you are watching this video from Instagram, all my social media is in the link in my bio, that IWhitleyCard.co. Just click that and you'll have a whole tree of my websites. If you're on YouTube, I have all my websites listed out in the description box, but that IWhitleyCard.co is still on there in case I left something off in the description. Yeah, this is the end. So until tomorrow, guys, happy making. While I'm here scheduling, I also wanted to make mention I will be making these Vlogust videos, like I said, every day in August. I love community engagement, so if you have any questions for me or any topics you want me to cover, feel free to comment them in the comment section on whichever platform you're watching this video on. I will get to them as quick as I can. Now, have a good evening. Happy making.